What is up, weeaboos? It's Mother X Super here, and I'm finally back with another one of my discussion videos. And yes, it is completely unscripted. Please bear in mind that there is going to be a lot of hesitation, and some of my points may not be thoroughly constructed. So, as of recent, I've been seeing that Cartoon Network is still treating Steven Universe as badly as possible, considering that the new episode is getting pushed back to April. And why I'm bringing this point up is because I want to at least tell or voice my opinion about why I've been giving way more favoritism towards Star vs. the Force of Evil, which is on Disney Channel, which censors almost everything, as opposed to Cartoon Network, the risk-taking network. So, I just want to compare these two. Steven Universe has acquired a following since I was a kid, and I loved it. And slowly but surely, it has been taken off air as if Cartoon Network doesn't love it. Yeah, I understand that they're going for the money almost entirely with Teen Titans Go and a couple of other shows, but 2018 might seem to lighten up on this one. Steven Universe, to me, is one of those shows that, once it enters a cult following, immediately, if people are going to tune in every week for that set episode, wouldn't the network itself kind of see that these people are going to come every time and you'll get the views out of this instead of re-airing Teen Titans Go almost 110 times a month? Okay, so now that I've got that out of the way, let's move on to why I think Star excels and why Steven Universe doesn't. Not saying that I think one's better than the other, I just show favoritism towards whatever one is actually getting the love it deserves. So, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it, but a basic explanation of it. A 14-year-old girl sent away from her home is learning how to readjust on Earth, which is not that different from Steven Universe, as he's not completely human and he has to kind of adjust to what he knows best and take on his mother's legacy. So, why do I show favoritism towards Star vs. Force of Evil? I believe that it is shown more love. And when I say it's shown more love, even when it was censored, we were able to get those episodes to be aired again. For example, the episode Star Crushed, while Marco and Jackie are involved with each other, I should say, there is a split second where they are seeing a same-sex couple, and that's why Disney decided to censor that episode and take off a couple of others, which I have no idea what was done for. I am actually very curious why those episodes were taken down. Probably for some complaint that I am unaware of. But anyways, even throughout the censorship, and I might just throw a little, a little bit of a haymaker at Steven Universe for a second. I don't think Star vs. the Force of Evil is better, per se. I just think it follows through its formula well. When I say that, I believe Star vs. the Force of Evil, with its form, it's not formulaic, and you can see the world being built around the characters, instead of the world adapting to the characters. When I say the world adapts to Steven, there are several instances where instead of him preparating to take on his environment, he is always able to have the environment adapt to him. Several instances, such as the moon base, where there is no oxygen and he breathes up there. Where in space, he is breathing vacuum for a solid 5 seconds before throwing Ruby out of his bubble and then creating a new one. And somehow continuing to breathe without any oxygen because he bubbled in vacuum. Not to mention his head should have exploded from that. Then again, in the first episode, his bubble shield is actually established. He not only can you see that he has air in there when he bubbles in oxygen, and when he goes into the water, you see the air bubble. Excuse me. You see the air bubbles from when he bubbled it on surface come up from out of it when it dissolves. Not to mention, down there, he was probably about crushing capacity down there, because he was pretty far down in the ocean at that time. So there is a couple of hundred instances where Steven has almost died even when environment has adapted towards him and not the opposite way. While in Star Versus, not only has Star had to train her mind, body, and spirit, I want to say, because not only has it shown that not everything goes her way, and she doesn't completely know what she wants. She doesn't know whether or not she wanted to be friends with Marco, and what was the difference between being his girlfriend and a friend who was also female. Ending off the series at season 2, and then moving on to season 3, she started developing way more than I expected, considering this was something that bugged her to a no end in the movie. Aside from a character developing to their environment and not vice versa, I believe that we actually see the show happening from different characters' perspectives. Steven Universe, if you are to be getting any type of character development, it is always seen from the perspective of Steven. For example, in the recent episode Sadie Killer, Steven is here to see development of Sadie. It's not just like we're seeing it by herself. We have never seen a scene that was never just the characters we want to develop. Steven always has to be there and interact with them somehow. That includes the people who work at the pizza shop, Sadie, and Lars. Even off screen, where we got Lars to develop, Steven still kind of has to be there for the audience to get something back, which I don't know why this is happening. And one last thing, I don't think I should nitpick, but I somewhat have to. Between Darren Nefsey and Rebecca Sugar, I love their work. I really, really do. But Rebecca Sugar gives her animators a lot of liberty. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But of recent, people have been doing comparisons between her animation in early seasons versus now. There is no type of continuity or consistency between anyone. For example, Peridot has canonically, and when I say canonically, I don't really mean it as the creator themselves have said it, but I mean it as the fans have noticed it. A lot of the fans have noticed that Peridot, between episode to episode, has consistently shrunk, which is so out of place. At least everyone else can have their team work very fluently with each other and not have every frame look different. Steven was about my height, so probably around 5'5". He was shrunk down to 3 feet and had to use a stool to get up to a cabinet he was able to reach season 1. That is not right. I have no idea why that would happen. As opposed to Star. Let's see. How Steven Universe crafts its fight scenes versus how Star does. Steven Universe fight scenes have kind of diminished over time. While they had their magic at first, they're now very slow and not rhythmic. I have a big example of this. This was with Pearl versus Amethyst. For how fast hits are moving, they should do less impact depending on who is throwing that said hit. Amethyst throws several fast hits and 2 heavy hits, and Pearl reacts opposite to each hit. A heavy hit does no damage, while a fast hit does a knockback. Now, why I have a problem with this is because I've actually been studying fight scenes just to give myself a comparison between stuff such as Ruby. Ruby Volume 4 has the weirdest rhythm for a fight scene. It is not consistent. For a fight scene, you're supposed to have it be fast and rhythmic, so that way your eyes aren't supposed to catch up. In some cases, this is good for fights such as Dragon Ball, and maybe Blaze Blue, considering that they didn't really care what happened in the animation because time was involved and a lot of story elements were involved in this as well. It shouldn't be that the fight doesn't look entertaining, but it shouldn't also be that it's hard to look at. Why I brought up Ruby in this is because Volume 4, with its rhythm, not only was it slow for some aspects, but it was also extremely fast. An example of this would be Tyrion versus Crow. Tyrion versus Crow was the most awkward fight in terms of camera dynamic, rhythm, and speed. Of course, speed and rhythm could coincide in this situation because every 5 seconds they are trying to make sure that the audience is grasping what they're laying down. Yes, depending on who you are, this can work, but no. Fight scenes are supposed to grab the attention of everyone instead of having it forced to their eyes. If I remember correctly, one person had stated that if someone were to do this in real life, the real life equivalent of this would be if you got on a roller coaster and every 5 seconds it would slow down and then speed up to 100 miles an hour. Excuse me. Star Versus, when it came to fight scenes, I believe it excelled well when it came to multiple enemies. Even if it's not as wild and productive like Dragon Ball and any other thing that is outside of the Western animation range, giving exceptions of Avatar and whatever else I can think of. It does it very well, and I know I shouldn't continue saying that, but I believe it does. In some cases where fights get way more intense, they actually show it. There's damage between frames, and you can see that how it carries over. How Marco actually had the bald spot when he turned back to his normal age. That I loved. Not only was there consistency, and animation errors were almost non-existent. It kind of trumps the the cons that Steven Universe bring up for me. I mean, I actually have started getting bored of Steven Universe because not only is it being treated awfully by Cartoon Network, and it's almost non-existent on air. Star has had marathons, and it is one of the most intriguing shows that can be aired on Disney XD for that matter. Disney had censored it at one point, and then fans had brought it back. The best shows on Disney XD always find some way to adjust and work with their surroundings. Not only can they be aired more than once, they can be binged. The network itself is actually showing care towards them. For example, when DuckTales came out, it aired for 24 hours when it first released, and that was awesome. That was a cartoon I was looking very forward to. Very forward to. That did not sound right. Excuse me. I was looking to it. I was looking very forward to it. And then there's the end of the spectrum with Pickle and Peanut. That is actually embarrassing. While you have shows like Star Versus, Gravity Falls, which had ended long ago, DuckTales, and a couple of other Disney XD originals that actually bring in people, as opposed to Cartoon Network always airing Teen Titans Go for the sake of money. There's no variety in Cartoon Network anymore. There's variety in Nick, and there's variety in Disney, and every other cartoon or, well, live action studio you can think of. I don't know how to finish this point. I don't know if I've stated enough why I'm giving more favoritism towards Star, or why I've just gotten bored of Steven Universe. I don't know. There's no magic anymore. I appreciate you guys for sticking through this. I know I rambled a lot. I know I did not do very well in terms of getting my points across. I may have backpedaled once or twice. I appreciate if you guys would like, slash the little bell if you need to, leave a comment, and keep on doing what you love. Later.